The little girl sat in her custom-built wheelchair, her small body shaking uncontrollably as a bowl of scalding hot, greasy squash soup was poured directly over her head by her stepmother. Tears streamed down her pale cheeks as she sobbed in agony and pleaded, "Mommy, it's too hot, it hurts so much." The sound was a desperate thin thread of pain. At that exact, horrific moment, the heavy oak front door of the ballroom burst open with a loud, sudden crash, shattering the thick, momentary silence that had fallen over the elite guests. Her millionaire father froze instantly, the elegantly wrapped Tiffany gift box slipping from his stunned grasp, tumbling soundlessly onto the carpet. His eyes, fixed on the horrifying, pitiful state of his daughter, saw nothing else. He could only force out one powerful, ragged line that instantly silenced the entire room, turning the lavish gala into a scene of sudden, thick tension and unspeakable shame. Before we delve deeper into this emotional journey, please leave a comment about your first reaction to this scene and give us a rating on this story from 1 to down text $10. Are you doing okay? If there is anything you would like to share, a personal struggle or a moment of triumph, I am always here to listen. We hope you find a moment of profound reflection as you follow this intense story of healing, a journey propelled by bravery and the ultimate pursuit of justice. The grand ballroom of Fairmont Manor, a sprawling, multi-million-dollar estate overlooking a dramatic stretch of the Hudson River Valley, gleamed with an almost sterile, dazzling light. Imported Italian crystal chandeliers, costing more than most homes, hung impossibly high above, casting their brilliant, cold shimmer upon the perfectly polished marble floor. The noise level was typical of New York society. The high-pitched sounds of forced laughter, the constant, rhythmic clinking of fine champagne glasses, and the soft, background strains of a hired pianist blended into an expensive, elegant melody, the perfect soundtrack to elite indifference. Amidst this animated, tightly packed crowd of powerful individuals, a small, terribly fragile-looking 6-year-old girl slowly, laboriously maneuvered her small, custom-made, silver-framed wheelchair. This was Stella Valmont, the only daughter of Robert Valmont, one of the most ruthless and wealthy real estate moguls in the tri-state area. Stella had soft, shimmering, golden brown hair, pale, delicate skin that rarely saw the sun, and large, expressive eyes that always held a fragile sparkle, often masked by the fear she lived with. Since a tragic sailing accident years ago, her lower limbs had been rendered permanently paralyzed, confining her to the chair in this isolated life forever. Stella wore a simple, light yellow dress, a stark, almost shameful contrast to the designer gowns swirling around her. Her small, thin hands gripped the wheel rims and armrests with careful, focused intensity. She yearned not for material things, but for the most basic human affection. She desperately craved a single, gentle hand to rest softly and reassuringly on her shoulder. Yet, ever since her biological mother, Laura, passed away, all she received in this immense, cold mansion was systematic, deliberate neglect and thinly veiled, psychological cruelty. The woman who walked with deliberate, arrogant confidence through the main hall in a striking, deep red designer gown was Eleanor, Robert's much younger second wife. Eleanor had never, not for a single moment, genuinely considered Stella her own daughter. In front of the other society members, the crowd whose opinions truly mattered to her career, Eleanor always flawlessly played the role of the devoted, elegant, charming hostess. Her public smile was manufactured to be as intoxicatingly sweet as honey, but only Stella knew the chilling, private truth, that beneath that perfect, society-ready smile burned a relentless fire of pure spite, intense financial resentment, and utter disdain for the helpless, disabled child. Tonight was Eleanor's extravagant Text 49th birthday gala, an event calculated to impress the right people and solidify her social standing. Most of the guests were major power players from Wall Street finance and high-stakes DC politics, all queuing up to gain favor with the influential Valmont family. In the crowd was Claire, Eleanor's younger sister, dressed in an equally costly, sumptuous purple dress. Her eyes constantly darted towards Stella with open, mocking amusement. Walking next to Claire was her husband, Marcus, impeccably tailored in a sharp blue suit. His mouth seemed physically incapable of shutting, always ready to utter crude, deeply condescending remarks about anyone perceived as weak. Stella attempted to steer her chair towards a remote, dimly lit corner near the buffet, needing only a small glass of water to soothe her dry throat. The dense, moving crowd made maneuvering her small chair an exhausting, nearly impossible feat of navigation. Suddenly, the right wheel snagged violently on the long, trailing hem of a passing guest's red gown. A sharp, loud sound of tearing fabric echoed unnaturally in the sudden lull. The man, a prominent lawyer, immediately let go of his glass of expensive Napa Valley Cabernet, which tilted disastrously, spilling its dark contents across the pristine white carpet, instantly leaving a striking, horrifying crimson stain that stole all attention. The entire ballroom fell silent for an agonizing few seconds, a silence thicker than deep pile velvet. Then dozens of high society eyes turned at once, judging, assessing, toward the small girl in the wheelchair. Stella froze instantly, every muscle rigid, her small hands tightly gripping the armrest, her heart hammering a frantic, painful rhythm against her ribs. Eleanor, ever the consummate performer, quickly stepped forward to control the brewing public relations disaster. Her sweet, patronizing smile remained fixed, perfectly aimed for the crowd's consumption. She bent down close to Stella, her voice sickly sweet but pitched loud enough for the nearby power brokers to clearly hear. "Sweetheart, you've been clumsy again. Honestly, we've talked about this, haven't we? About being careful with the expensive things." The words were manufactured to sound tender and corrective, but her eyes, when they met Stella's, blazed with an unrestrained, terrifying fury, as if she truly wished she could incinerate the child to ash. Stella trembled violently and whispered, her voice barely audible, thick with shame, I'm so sorry, Eleanor. I truly didn't mean to cause trouble, I promise." Her tiny fingers pressed so hard against the wheelchair frame that the skin turned bone white. She forced herself to look up into Eleanor's face, silently, desperately pleading for a mercy she knew would never come. Eleanor leaned in even closer, her voice dropping to a low, chilling whisper intended only for Stella's ears. "You little liability, you always ruin things, always humiliating me in front of everyone who matters. You'll pay for ruining my gala, and you'll pay dearly. This is your fault." Without another moment's hesitation or a change in her sinister expression, Eleanor abruptly straightened up, walked deliberately to the banquet table, grabbed a bowl of steaming hot squash soup, and violently, savagely, tossed the entire contents directly over Stella's head. The clatter of a metal ladle striking the marble floor followed, the final sickening sound of an unthinkable act. The searing hot soup poured down Stella's soft golden brown hair, instantly soaking the collar and shoulders of her dress, dripping onto her small shoulders. Robert is absent, granting his new wife total impunity. Who among this self-interested elite would ever dare to intervene in a private domestic dispute? Claire threw her head back, erupting in harsh, cruel laughter, pointing a manicured finger directly at the soaked, trembling Stella. "My God, this child truly is the Valmont family's curse. Look at the ridiculous mess she's made of herself." Marcus quickly seconded her, his tone heavy with disgust. "Looks like this family is about to face some seriously bad PR. Keeping a damaged, crippled kid under their roof is a liability." The echoing sound of sneering laughter mixed sickeningly with Stella's silent, choked sobs. She tried to wipe the greasy soup running down her face with her trembling small hands, but the action only managed to smear the mess further. Eleanor stood perfectly tall, her seductive, terrifying smile completely intact, as if the assault was merely a necessary measure of high society discipline. Her cold eyes scanned the room. Seeing no one brave enough to object, her expression turned utterly victorious and cruel. Stella lowered her head completely, her soup-soaked hair clinging to her cheeks, the stream of tears a constant, steady drip. She dared not look at anyone, only whispering into the carpet with a voice that was utterly broken, "Please don't hate me anymore. I promise I'll be good. I'll be quiet." At that devastating, silent climax, the heavy main doors burst open with a sound that echoed like a final, authoritative crack of thunder throughout the tense hall. Everyone involuntarily turned their heads towards the powerful disruption. A tall, impeccably dressed man walked in, holding a small, silver-wrapped gift box. His face was set in a serious, focused expression, carrying the inherent confidence of a man who ruled Fortune Tech's to $500 boardrooms. It was Robert Valmont, the CEO and owner of the manor, who had flown back early from a critical merger meeting to surprise his second wife. But the planned surprise never even left his hands. The sight that met him in the ballroom left him instantly paralyzed. He stopped dead in his tracks. The gift box trembled so badly it finally slipped, falling silently onto the thick carpet. His eyes locked onto Stella, his only daughter, trembling violently, soaked and stained with squash soup, her tearful eyes glued to the floor in shame. The air in the ballroom became impossibly thick, heavy, suffocating. The residual laughter instantly died, replaced by a deep communal dread. Eleanor shuddered visibly for a second, then, regaining her icy composure, quickly masked herself with her sweet, practiced smile, stepping forward to offer a facile explanation. But Robert was beyond hearing. He couldn't force a single word out. The gift box lay crushed on the floor. But it was the realization of his long-neglected, broken heart that truly shook him to his core. Here's the powerful re-hook. Don't look away, the confrontation is about to explode. Robert clamped his hand around the crushed gift box, crushing the silver paper into a useless ball, and walked with rapid, forceful steps through the crowd. He stopped directly in front of the small wheelchair. He bent down, lowering himself to her level, his voice thick and choked, not with grief, but with sheer, white-hot rage. What is this, Eleanor? Explain to me right now. What exactly did you just do to my daughter? The atmosphere tightened. Eleanor immediately placed a hand to her chest, artificial tears springing forth. Robert, I only wanted to teach her a lesson. The child was horribly disrespectful in front of our guests. I felt utterly humiliated. I swear I never meant to injure her. Stella continued her sobs. Daddy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't want Mommy to be angry at you. Those pathetic words squeezed Robert's chest. He looked at Stella, seeing the despair, and then his gaze snapped back to Eleanor. He saw the cold, unbridgeable distance he had created. He took a long, steadying breath, and then spoke sharply, his voice low but lethally cutting. Stop, this ends now. Do you honestly believe I would fall for that pathetic display? I saw what you did. The sound of his voice, hard and authoritative, reverberated throughout the hall. Guests began to whisper fiercely. Claire stepped forward, attempting a final intervention. Robert, my sister only wanted what was best for the child. Don't let one regrettable moment ruin your marriage. Marcus chimed in. Yeah, Bob. Maybe you should discipline the kid yourself. She ruined the party. Robert turned, his eyes sharp as blades. He encircled Stella with his arms, pulling her against his chest. He looked directly at Eleanor. His voice strained through gritted teeth. Listen closely, Eleanor. From this day forward, effective immediately, you no longer have the right to touch her, speak to her, or even look at her. You are done. The declaration silenced the entire hall. Eleanor froze, then lowered her head. A cold curve appeared at the corner of her mouth. She whispered dangerously low for only Claire to hear. He chose the cripple over me. He will pay. You are witness to this, and you both will pay for this public disgrace. Stella looked up, her eyes locking with Eleanor's gaze. She knew the nightmare was far from over. Robert walked quickly down the long corridor to Stella's private suite. He gently lifted his daughter from the wheelchair and placed her on the bed. Robert found a towel, soaked it in warm water, and slowly began to wipe her hair. His hand shook as he saw the red spots on her scalp. Daddy will be careful, Stella. Don't be afraid. I am here now. Stella whispered, Daddy, don't be mad at Mommy. If you divorce her, she'll hate me even more. Robert froze, his voice cracked with regret. No, Stella, none of this is your fault. I am the one to blame. I left you alone for far too long. I let you suffer on your own. Tears fell from his eyes. Stella rested her head against his chest, whispering tiredly, All I really want is for you to just be here with me. Robert hugged his daughter fiercely. He knew this was only the beginning of a difficult legal and emotional battle. Meanwhile, in the private study, Eleanor stood before the mirror, her eyes burning with fury. She hurled a glass against the fireplace. Robert dares to choose that useless child over me, over my entire reputation. Her voice was a dangerous snarl. I'll show him what hell really looks like. I'll destroy his public image. Claire advised, I've already secured the public relations angle. The press won't let him get away with this. We know a hungry tabloid reporter. We make him the villain, the cold, heartless CEO. Marcus seconded her. His empire can collapse from just one devastating article. The public hates billionaires. Eleanor curved her lips into a cold smile. Then start preparing the narrative. I will not lose my standing to a child in a wheelchair. Back upstairs, Robert sat silently beside Stella. He knew he needed undeniable proof. Patrice, his longtime assistant, entered, placing a thick legal file on the desk. Boss, I've been keeping discreet tabs on Eleanor for months. This is what can save both of you. It's all here. Robert looked up. What did you find? Patrice slid the file towards him. Inside are names you would never expect. If you open this, everything changes. There's no turning back from this fight. Robert stared at the file, then reached out, making the final career-altering decision. The first page read, Charles Robbins, Laura's brother. Patrice lowered her voice. You must meet with him. Charles has been a silent, moral witness to her abuse. That afternoon, Charles Robbins walked in. He looked directly into Robert's eyes. I stayed silent because I believed you would protect Stella. But today, when I saw that vile article, I simply couldn't bear it. Robert, it is time you truly protected your daughter. Charles continued, voice cracking. I visited her. I saw Eleanor shove Stella's wheelchair. I heard her call her a burden. Stella endured it silently. She never dared to tell you. Robert lowered his head, thick with shame. Where was I when all that was happening in my own home? Why didn't I see it? The next day, Robert visited Stella's elementary school and met Isabel, her art teacher. On the desk lay drawings. A house sealed shut, a tiny girl behind bars, a shadowy figure looming. Isabel looked directly at Robert. In all these drawings, Stella has never drawn her stepmother with a genuine smile. This is the exposed heart of a child trapped in fear. Robert broke with guilt. What kind of father have I been? Isabel was firm. You still have a chance. But if you wait one more day, Stella will stop believing in anyone. Late that afternoon, Patrice returned with Mr. Henderson, a lifelong neighbor, clutching a small USB drive. I've kept this for months. I thought no one would believe an old man like me, but now, seeing everything explode in the papers, I cannot stay silent. Robert immediately plugged in the USB. On the screen, Eleanor's face, twisted with rage, appeared. The video footage clearly showed her forcefully shoving Stella's wheelchair down the steep front steps. Stella's high-pitched cry of terror echoed. The little girl tumbled onto the hard brick pavement. Robert froze, his fists clenching. Stella, who had wheeled herself in, saw the video and burst into tears. The neighbor placed the USB on the desk. Mr. Valmont, you have to use this. That child cannot endure any more. That night, Patrice walked into a major newspaper's newsroom. It's time the mask came off. The truth sells. Meanwhile, Eleanor finalized her plot with the tabloid reporter James. I'll show him how to lose everything in a single day. That morning, the county courthouse was a frenzy. Inside, every seat was packed. On the left, Eleanor sat composed with Claire and Marcus. On the right, Robert sat grimly with attorney Michael Stern. Robert turned. Stella sat in her wheelchair, a small figure of determination. The gavel struck. Court is in session. Mr. Valmont, do you have any statement regarding the charges? Robert stood up, his voice unwavering. My daughter has been systematically abused by this woman, and I have undeniable evidence and multiple witnesses. Eleanor immediately feigned trembling. He's lying. I raised that child. I only tried to teach her manners. Michael signaled Charles. Charles Robbins walked to the witness stand. I am the brother of Laura. I have seen Eleanor slap Stella, push her wheelchair, and abuse her. That is not discipline. That is child abuse. Eleanor countered sharply. He is slandering me. He holds a grudge. Michael next called Isabel, who placed the drawings on the judge's bench. Stella has never drawn her stepmother with a genuine smile. This is the exposed heart of a child trapped in fear. Eleanor forced tears. That's just a child's imagination. I love her. Michael turned, giving Stella a gentle nod. A murmur spread as Stella slowly made her way to the stand. Stella trembled, her voice small but clear. She called me a disgrace. I just wanted my new mother to like me. The judge looked at Robert. Present the photographic evidence immediately. Patrice stood up, holding the USB drive. The drive was connected to the large screen. The screen illuminated. The image snapped into focus. The staircase at Fairmont Manor. Eleanor appeared, her face burning. her hands shoved forward. The wheelchair tipped, and Stella was thrown down the stairs. Stella's raw, heartbreaking scream resonated through the courtroom. The public gasped. Eleanor jumped up, shrieking, "Lies! It's all edited footage." Robert's hand closed firmly over Stella's. "You are not alone anymore. I am right here now." The gavel struck 3 final blows. The judge spoke with cold steel. Based on the video evidence, witness testimonies, and arguments, the court rules as follows. Eleanor Valmont is found guilty of child abuse, felony defamation, and conspiracy. Claire and Marcus are found criminally complicit. Each is hereby sentenced to multiple years in state prison along with a permanent non-contact order with the victim. Handcuffs snapped shut. Eleanor turned and gave Robert one final, hate-filled smile. The judge nodded slightly at Stella. Stella responded with a small, silent glance of thanks. The gavel struck again. On the side steps, Robert stopped the wheelchair. He knelt down, placing both his hands over hers. "Stella, from now on, it's just the 2 of us, healing together. I am committed to this." Stella looked directly into her father's eyes, her voice firmer than ever. "I only need you, Dad." Patrice draped a light coat over Stella's shoulders. Isabel leaned in. "I'll be waiting for Stella at school with new watercolors." Stella turned to her. "Please bring the biggest sheets of paper." "Of course," Isabel smiled. In the following weeks, Robert's life changed completely. He prioritized Stella. In the mornings, he and Stella ate toast together. "Are you getting better at this?" Stella teased. "My teacher is strict," Robert replied. "Her name is Stella." That afternoon, father and daughter spent an hour painting. Stella explained patiently. "Just mix blue with white, but add a little yellow to make it warmer." Robert was surprised. "It looks exactly like the park at sunset," he whispered. "That's because someone is pushing the wheelchair very steadily now," Stella replied. That night, Robert read her a bedtime story. When Stella asked why the bear was standing unafraid in the dark woods, Robert paused. "Because, sweetie, he knows the way home now, and he knows he is loved." Stella looked into his eyes. "And what about me? You have the map right here." Robert placed his hand on his chest. "Every single night we draw one more line together." They still met with Maya, the victim advocate. Maya taught Stella how to pause when fear surged. Stella wrote, "Fear of the dark. Call it the big shadow." She folded the paper and placed it in a box. Maya explained, "You are simply putting it where you have the power to control it." "You are in control." One weekend, Robert tried again to make star-shaped pancakes. They came out uneven. Stella laughed genuinely. "It's beautiful, Dad, because it's not perfect. It looks much more like the real sky on a windy night." Robert sighed. "The magic is that you are standing by the stove at all," Stella said softly. At dawn, Robert pushed her wheelchair onto the back porch. Stella took her father's hand. "Dad, the sky is so very bright today." "Yes," Robert smiled. "The light came right on time." Robert tilted his head and whispered, "Laura, I finally made it, and I promise you I am never letting go of her again." Stella looked up. "Dad, I really think Mom is right here with us." A single perfect autumn leaf fell softly into Stella's open palm. She giggled. Robert squeezed her hand tighter. The sunlight spread, illuminating their faces. That moment was the definitive boundary between a past of darkness and a future of light. A fragile girl had been brutally humiliated, and a father chose to side with justice and love. When Robert said, "From now on, it's just the 2 of us," it was the completion of his journey of redemption and the hopeful beginning of their healing. What detail moved you the most? The tearful plea, "Mommy, it's too hot," or the strong hand held in the final sunrise? What helps a child overcome fear? The law, or the constant presence of love? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for being here with us.